What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. As some of you already know, I just bought myself my very own dream car and it sits just behind those doors right there. So let's go ahead and check it out.
And here it is, a BMW M2 in the color Long Beach Blue with a manual transmission. After over a year of searching for an M2, I finally pulled the trigger and bought my dream car. But as we can see, it's definitely in need of some love and attention. The most obvious thing is that it needs a full detail, and then I'm going to give it a proper full service. And then I'm going to be installing some tasteful performance modifications. And also I've been having some issues with the front tires rubbing when you go full lock to lock, and that is due to it's sitting on H&R lowering springs, and it's on semi-slicks right now, which are a bit beefier tires. So I did try to massage the inner fenders, which helped a little, but we definitely need to fix that properly. But before we do all of this work to the car and install all of these new parts, let's go out for a test drive and see how the car feels right now.
So here we are in the car. First thing that we notice is that it is a manual, which I was actively looking for. It's really nice to have. Honestly, I wouldn't mind the dual clutch transmission as well, because I did test drive that and it felt amazing too. But I'm a manual type of guy, so that's just what I went with. It meant that it was harder to find a good example M2 because they are much more common in automatic, at least here in Sweden. So but yeah, I eventually found this specimen right here, the blue M2 with the manual transmission. So yeah, let's just take it a bit easy here, get it up to temperature, and we will do some acceleration times. So right now I will head to a private track, of course, and I will do some 80 to 120 kilometers an hour pulls. I think that will give us a good baseline. I will do it in 4th gear to just see where we're at. So yeah, I think that will give us a fair comparison to compare the stage 2 to. So yeah, here we go. So the best time I managed to get 80 to 120 in 4th gear was 3:38, and I'm pretty sure I won't be able to get a better time than that in this current state. In fact, I think it was a slight downhill. So but yeah, I'll calculate the average. I think I did 3 pulls in total with pretty similar results. But yeah, 3:38 was my best time, and I think that gives us a good baseline to compare with later. Now this car, according to the seller at least, is completely original in the engine and the exhaust. I think it's pretty mind-blowing that this car sounds so good with the stock exhaust. I mean, just sounds really nice. And I've actually driven a competition, an M2 competition, with a stock exhaust, and it did not sound this nice, I'll tell you that. So yeah, that's also one of the reasons why I went with the OG M2. That, and of course the price. So yeah, let's go ahead and head back to the garage and start to work on this car.
The first thing I like to do with pretty much any car that I buy is to give the underside, the wheel arches, and the engine bay a good clean. That just makes it so much more enjoyable to work on the car. And as far as the underside go, this tool from autodo.se makes the job so much easier. The last person who put on these wheels over-torqued them by a lot. Fortunately, all of the threads are okay, but some of the heads on the bolts are a bit worn out, so I'll definitely make sure to replace those. And here you can see me hitting up the inner wheel arch with a pre-cleaner, degreaser and an iron dissolver for the brake components. And of course, now is the perfect opportunity to clean the wheels inside and out. Now, deep cleaning the wheel arches is one of those things that can really make a detail and make a car stand out, because the truth is that most people aren't even used to seeing a car with clean wheel arches. As we can see here, the left rear wheel has some curb damage, so we'll definitely need to fix that. Next thing to do is to give the engine bay a good scrub, and I opted for using a power washer here, so just make sure to cover up any sensitive areas like the alternator or the ECU. So pretty much the same process here as with the wheel arches. I pre-treat any greasy stubborn areas with a degreaser, then I cover the entire engine bay with an alkaline cleaner, scrub away, rinse it all down, and then I protect all of the plastic and painted parts in the engine bay. And there we go, so much nicer to look at, and it'll definitely be more enjoyable to work on. Last thing I want to do before I tend to the paint and the rest of the exterior detail is to make these lovely quad exhaust tips shine once more, because right now they're looking pretty sorry for themselves. And there we go. For some reason, these tips from BMW loves to get black and sooty, so this will make a huge impact on the overall appearance of the car. And then it's finally time to tend to the rest of the exterior, starting with a good decontamination of the paint. And by the way, almost all of the products I use in this video will be linked down in the description. Now, since I bought this car through a dealership, it had gotten a chemical decontamination not too long ago, which made this process quite easy. So as you saw, just pre-treated it with a traffic film remover, a good scrub with a nice shampoo and a wash mitt, and then I go over the entire paintwork with a clay mitt. And that made the paintwork silky smooth and ready for polishing. I also think it's a very good idea to clay the glass, especially the windshield, because the wipers will glide over the surface effortlessly. So there we go, the decontamination stage is finally done, so we are now ready for some paint correction and all of the rest of the work for that matter. It looks really good as it is, but obviously we got a ton of work ahead of us still, so let's proceed with the next thing on the list. And that is to polish the entire paintwork, but before I go ahead and do that, it's the perfect opportunity to fill in any rock chips that's on the car. The paintwork is in a fairly decent condition, but there are some trouble areas, so the plan of attack is to hit those up first with a heavier compound, and then I'll go over the entire paintwork with a medium and then to a fine polishing compound. Now before I go ahead and polish the more hard to reach areas such as the pillars and around the emblems, around the front grille and the bumper, I just want to give a quick shout out to Tokia's latest creation, their Mini 32 polisher that Autodude was very kind enough to send out to me. So a huge shout out to them. Looks really nice, and this will definitely enable me to get a better result at the more hard to reach intricate areas. So it will definitely be interesting to try this out, and the best thing about it is that it comes with a lot of small polishing pads, adapter plates, and everything that you need basically. It also includes an extra battery. So yeah, I'm super stoked to try this out, so let's go ahead and do just that. After a couple of days of polishing, it's finally time to apply some protection to the paint, and before we go ahead and do that, we need to prep the surface and wipe every panel clean. And for paint protection, I'm going here with Geon's Moss Evo. "24 hours later, I'm applying a quick layer of Geon's Cure as a sacrificial layer for the ceramic coating during its curing process. As far as the windows goes, I'm using Geon's Glass Plus, which cleans and leaves behind a hydrophobic protected surface.
So now I can finally say that the exterior is pretty much all done. It's definitely been a lot of long hours behind it. But yeah, it's now finally done and it looks absolutely stunning. I'm now going to tend to the wheels a bit more because there is some damage on one of the rims right here, as we can see. So I'm actually going to send away all of the wheels to a company here in town that focuses on restoring rims and wheels pretty much. But I'm going to send them all away, even though just one of them has damage, because they all need to be rebalanced. I have experienced some vibrations at highway speeds, so definitely could be a good idea to balance all of the wheels. So I'm sending them all off at the same time. So let's get the car back up in the air, remove the wheels, send them off, and then we can begin with the next thing. And that is to do a complete Stage 2 tune to this car. So yeah, let's get right to it.
As we can see, there's a little bit of paint that has chipped away on some places on the calipers, and I think that the Long Beach Blue is a close enough match on these blue calipers, so let's go ahead and fill that in.
So as we can see, we got a lot of goodies here. For example, we got some new charge pipes, new engine oil, the new downpipe. We got the new ABAC springs right there, a new front mount intercooler, and a lot of that is accessed from the underneath. So pretty much the first thing we need to do is to remove this structural reinforcement skid plate. It's held on with a couple of bolts around there and some smaller screws. So yeah, let's go ahead and take that down in order to gain more access.
These screws are actually one-time use, so I'll make sure to replace them when the time comes for reassembly. If you've seen my other videos, you know the drill by now. If it comes off the car, it's getting cleaned. Here we can see the connectors for the upstream and the downstream O2 sensor. We need to disconnect those in order to remove the downpipe. While we're at the top of the engine, I'm proceeding with removing everything that attaches to the intake and the original charge pipe that we're going to replace. Here we can see the original downpipe with the catalytic converter, which is one of the few items on this car that is restrictive from the factory.
So there we go, the original downpipe with the catalytic converter is out. It wasn't a difficult job at all, honestly. It was pretty straightforward and it came out really easily. So right here I've got a brand new aftermarket downpipe from Cobra Motorsports. It's not a straight through, it is a sport cat or a race cat if you will. If you run straight piped D-cat here in Sweden, you won't pass inspection, and also it's nice to know that you don't pollute the environment as much. So I went with a race cat version, but as we can see we need to transfer the O2 sensors to the new downpipe, so let's go ahead and do that. So the downpipe is now finally on. As we can see, I struggled a bit off camera actually, and the reason for that is, well, because the fitment wasn't perfect, but yeah, it's on now and that's the most important thing. So let's move on to the next thing, and that is to replace that restrictive intercooler to a bigger one.
Here you can see me pull out the original charge pipe, which is known to break even under stock boost. As we can see, the difference in size is pretty substantial, so hopefully this will help me keep my intake air temperatures down even during hot summer days. Before we go ahead and install these new parts, we need to transfer some of the components over. I think these ports are meant for meth injection. I'm not going to utilize that, so I need to plug them up. Before installing the new intercooler, I want to make sure that no debris or dirt is in there, maybe from the manufacturing process or something like that. So this is what I came up with. I'm simply going to vacuum it out this way.
There we go, the intercooler and charge pipes is finally on right now. I did this alone, and in hindsight you should definitely be two persons, because I struggled with this for a while off camera, but I eventually managed to get it on, so I feel nice about that. So just a couple of more things to do with this car, and then we're finally ready to, well, basically start it up and take it out for a test drive. So let's go ahead and replace the engine oil, replace some filters, a couple of stuff like that, and then we're ready for the next step. So as you just saw, I pulled the old oil filter from the car, as we can see right here. And this is the new one that I got directly from the dealership, directly from BMW. I gave them my license plate number, and of course they should be able to find me the correct part. And as we can see, it's not even close to being the same. Yeah, the diameter is off, it's a lot longer. So yeah, it's starting to get almost ridiculous at this point. It feels like in each of my last videos there has been problems with the parts that I've ordered for my cars. So yeah, it's definitely annoying, but I just have to go back to the dealership, BMW here in Uppsala, Sweden, and see what they have to say.
So, a couple of days later, and I finally got the correct oil filter, and I also took the opportunity to pick up some new fasteners.
And with that being all plugged in, we should be safe now to test start the engine and see if we have any problems with the installations that we've done. Check for leaks and stuff like that. So yeah, here we go. Let's start it up and see how it goes.
Next up is to replace and bleed the brake fluid, and I went with a fluid that can handle high temperatures, and I also just picked up this pressure bleeder, so it'll be really interesting to try that out. The pressure bleeder worked like a charm, super happy about that. It makes a brake flush like this so easy to do.
So while I wait for my wheels to return from restoration, I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the handbrake, and with the BMWs that use an old classic manual handbrake and not an electrical one, you do the adjustment mainly in the brake drum and shoe itself, and you can do it through one of the bolt holes. There's adjustment screw in here, which is really hard to pick up on camera. But you basically just take a flathead screwdriver and then twist on that star screw until it makes contact, until the brake shoe makes contact with the brake disc and you feel some resistance, and then you back it out slightly until you have a good feel in the handbrake. So yeah, that's how you adjust it basically. So the wheels are now back from the wheel shop, where one of them got restored, and we also rebalanced every single one of them. So yeah, now they are damage free and balanced, but the paint could definitely use some polishing. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna polish them up as best as I can. Then I'm gonna be applying Geon's rim ceramic coating, and then they will be good to go.
As we can see, the black paint on the rims is quite heavily hazed up, and honestly I thought that these wheels were dark gray when I first got the car, just because they were so matte in the finish, but yeah, we're definitely gonna change that. After doing a quick test spot, we can see that there is a huge opportunity for improvement, so let's continue and do all of the wheels. I also went ahead and coated the calipers and the exhaust tips, as it can handle pretty high temperatures. As it is right now, I honestly think that the car sits a little bit too low in the front. These ABAC springs lowers the car 5mm less in the front compared to the H&R springs that's on the car right now. And hopefully this will also solve my rubbing issue when I turn the wheel lock to lock in low speeds.
There we go, the springs are now on, which means that we can finally put on these gorgeous looking wheels back onto the car. Super hyped for how that's gonna look. And then it's time for the last thing for this video, which is to give the interior a good proper detail. And then it's just a matter of taking it out for a quick spin, making sure that all of the mods are good and everything checks out fine. So yeah, let's go ahead and do just that.
4 of the wheel bolts had worn out heads, so of course I made sure to replace them. For some reason, I like to save the interior for last, and to sum the process up, I'm going to be vacuuming everything out, wiping all of the panels and surfaces clean, then I'm going to be deep cleaning and protecting the leather seats. For the not so dirty panels, for example the door card here, I'm just using distilled water and a clean microfiber towel. There's really no need to go any more aggressive than that if you don't have to.
Finally ticked off the interior as well on this list. So as we can see, there's only one more thing to do, and that is the tune. And I still haven't decided whether I should go with a custom tune or just to buy MHD or Bootmod 3 or something like that and throw in an off-the-shelf tune on this car. Still haven't decided on that, but yeah, as far as this episode goes, the car is done. And I mean, just take a look at it. I'm super happy with the results, and the car is perfectly safe to drive right now on the stock tune. But to get the most out of the modifications, you should really get a stage 2 tune. And yes, there will be some more proper aftershots on this car just shortly here. And as we saw, I didn't replace the bolts for the reinforcement plate or the reinforcement strut in the engine bay. And the reason for that is, well, I'm going to be taking it out for a quick test drive just to make sure that everything is okay. We don't have any boost leaks or anything like that. So it would be a shame if, God forbid, I did have like a boost leak or something like that, or an exhaust leak, which I don't think, because I've already checked it in idle when the car was up on the lift. But if I do, then it would be a shame to just have to throw away these new bolts again. So I just temporarily reuse the old ones. So yeah, if everything checks out okay, I will install the new bolts and torque them to spec. But I'll probably do that off camera. I won't bore you with the same process over and over again. So I'm ready to take this car out for a spin.
Before the test drive, I quickly reset all of the service items that I did to the car, and then I plugged in my diagnostic tool so that we can see some relevant live data. there we go guys, this video has come to an end and I'm so happy to be able to share this process with my followers. If you liked the video, please feel free to maybe leave a comment, like it, and if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe. Until next time, have a really good one guys, see you then.